In today's video, I want to answer the age-old question, why is Chick-fil-A ice so good? Now, you might be thinking, well, Frisch's ice is also good, so maybe it's the size of the ice, or maybe it's the drinks that they put inside of it. But I don't think that's it. You see, when it comes to the ice, I think it's quite idealistic type. Because you see, like McDonald's is the biggest chain of restaurants in the world, and they don't offer that type of ice, and they're still doing very well, you know. For instance, their sweet tea compared to, let's say, Chick-fil-A or Frisch's, it's not necessarily worse. I'd say McDonald's sweet tea is possibly even better than Frisch's and Chick-fil-A. But then, if you're asking this, then why are their ice? Why do people like their ice so much more? Well, here's my idea. You see, I think people are more prone to linger on their drinks. So when they linger, they want their ice to hold up well. And some people prefer, in my opinion, I think some people prefer larger ice, like at McDonald's, for, um, so you can keep it and it'll slowly melt over time. The problem is when it's so densely packed into these cubes, it will release a lot of water over time. Okay, let's say you're drinking it, you have like, I don't know, maybe a few hours. You won't, of course, you will want your ice to last, but if your ice lasts too long, your drink's gonna get watery, And if your drink gets watery, then like it's not really the same drink anymore. No matter what it is, it's just not gonna be as flavorful. Now I know some people like that because then they can enjoy their drink a little longer, but let's be honest. If you have a drink, I'm assuming you want it to taste as good as it possibly could. So, um, is that why? Well, I think the problem with the ice is that Chick-fil-A and Frisch's, their ice is a lot smaller, and ideally it makes it more movable. It melts at a more manageable rate, I think. It doesn't release too much water, but then again, it since there's so many ice cubes compared to like McDonald's where they give you massive ice cubes, um, they melt at the same rate ideally because they're a little smaller and there's a lot of them. They're relatively the same size, and I think people just like slower. Well, people like ice that melts at a constant rate because gradually, if you're drinking it, then the flavor that it had will go down at a at a manageable rate. It'll go down a steady rate. But with ice from like McDonald's, it will go down at an exponential rate. Mainly because, as I mentioned earlier, there's lots more water coming out, and as your drink melts, more and more water will compile. Whereas for Chick-fil-A and Frisch's, your drink will melt slower, and it will gradually um, enter the taste. So it's a lot more gradual, and you don't necessarily realize it as much when the ice in your drink at Frisch's and Chick-fil-A is melting compared to McDonald's. I think that's why people prefer that ice. But then again, people have all different types of ice preferences, and it makes sense why some people like the Frisch's and Chick-fil-A kind, and some people like the McDonald's kind. I think it depends on the drinks too. Like when you have something like coffee, and you put ice into you make iced coffee. I think people like the normal sized ice because then it lingers a little longer. Like when you put hot coffee inside, um, with large ice cubes, it'll melt relatively quickly. So I mean, ideally, it's just depending on what kind of drink, I'd say. But not necessarily. I mean, I think the ice, in some circumstances, can make a otherwise normal drink taste a little better. And not just because, and like mentally, it's not like it tastes better just because there's ice in it. No, 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 no. The consumer thinks that it tastes better because they like the way it introduces the water from the ice. So I think the different shapes affect it. Now, I'm no scientist, but I think I might be onto something. Um, so I want your guys' opinion. Is the Chick-fil-A slash Frisch's ice better than the McDonald's kind? And if so, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye.